The reading from the opening chapter of the Gospel of John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God. All things came into being through him, and without him not one thing came into being. What has come into being in him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. There was a man sent from God whose name was John. He came as a witness to testify to the light, so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. The true light, which enlightens everyone, was coming into the world. He was in the world, and the world came into being through him, yet the world did not know him. He came to what was his own, and his own people did not accept him. But to all who received him, who believed in his name, he gave power to become children of God, who were born not of blood, or of the will of the flesh, or of the will of humanity, but of God. And the Word became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory, the glory as of a Father's only Son, full of grace and truth. From his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. The law indeed was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God. It is God, the only Son, who is close to the Father's heart, who has made him known. This is the story of our faith.
Good morning. I was saddened to hear of the death on Boxing Day of Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He made a guest appearance at a World Association for Christian Communication event in which I participated in Cape Town in 2008. As usual, he was charming, witty, and at times cuttingly pointed, and at 5 foot 5 inches, shorter than expected for one who conveyed such a large presence. The most vivid memory of that trip, though, was not the Archbishop, but the visit to Robben Island, where Nelson Mandela spent the first 18 of his 27 years in prison. As Mandela recalled in The Long Walk to Freedom, I could walk the length of my cell in 3 paces. When I lay down, I could feel the wall with my feet, and my head grazed the concrete at the other side. 1 blanket on a thin pallet, no plumbing. A solitary light bulb burned day and night. I stood on the lip of the limestone quarry in which he did hard labor. The dust compromised his eyesight for the rest of his life. I could see the small crevice in the quarry wall that housed the bucket toilet. Mandela could write and receive a letter once every 6 months. Once a year, authorities allowed a visitor for 30 minutes. And he emerged from that without hate, talking of forgiveness and reconciliation. In him was life, and the life was the light of all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it. He came as a witness to testify to the light so that all might believe through him. He himself was not the light, but he came to testify to the light. Standing in the door of the cell, walking the Robben Island prison compound, I felt myself to be upon holy ground. The isolation, the smelting of the soul, the orientation towards the light, the decision to not abandon hope, to continue, was certainly sacred, exuding the soul of God. Faced with vivid, concrete details, religious abstractions became remote. The Gospel of John opens with abstract metaphysical words that set the stage for the tactile. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was in the beginning with God, and things came into being through him, and without him, not one thing came into being. The translators render the Greek word logos using the term word. In the beginning was the logos. Logos refers to the fundamental structure of reality, or the universe, if you prefer a limited scope. Logos is as much a verb as a noun. Logos carries and creates motion, a sense of becoming, as much as being. Modern quantum physics talks about this as a field, the compelling energy force field that surrounds and infuses all inside and outside space and time. As Christians, we dare to assert that Jesus shows us the very nature of this that is deeper than what we perhaps somewhat arrogantly name as reality. The Logos became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen the glory full of grace and truth. That which could have remained, veiled in mystery, and the shadows of the cosmos became touchable. The bold, audacious claim of the Christian gospel is that we know something of the character of that which infuses and binds all, that does not see isolation but connection, does not exhibit bitterness, hatred, and division, but grace and truth. Or, as Bishop Tutu and Nelson Mandela testified, truth and reconciliation. There is a difference between isolation and separateness. We can be isolated, but not feel separated. Mandela was isolated for years, but did not feel separated from his people or the struggle of the blacks to be released from apartheid. Separation conveys a sense of bonds being frayed, if not broken. Even in a time mandating isolation, where a period now marks the end of much of what we once assumed, God is still moving, connecting, creating possibilities, even in the isolated compartments in which we may find ourselves. Separation can carry a sense of grayness. Abstract metaphysical talk of the Logos can leave a dreamlike vagueness of mystery hovering in the shadows of the cosmos. Into this grayness, the darkness of separation, comes a light, and the darkness did not overcome it, proclaims the Gospel of John. The light shines in the darkness. Quantum physicists now wonder about the primacy of light, but the image has a long history in spirituality. Leonard Cohen wrote lyrics that endure well beyond the rest of the song. There is a crack in everything, and that's how the light gets in. The Gospel of John names Jesus as the true light, which enlightens everyone. The light reveals that which should be avoided, a direction, connections that still exist or which are being formed, even in a gray dawn. In these times, where much remains broken and scattered on the floor, where pride says, no need for light, we know where we're going, where the focus is upon periods and dramatic exclamations of crises, our task, remains similar to John the Baptist. Testify to the light. The Logos became flesh and lived among us, and we have seen his glory full of grace and truth. Grace and truth. May we live the coming year so that words and actions, indeed, our very being reflects both grace and truth. Might our life reflect the character that lies beyond and underneath all that is and has been and continues to write new chapters full of mystery and surprise. Such a testimony cannot be borne alone. Such a witness requires more of us, a community, a people of faith and purpose.
Nothing can trouble, nothing